This is Mile High Sports.
Day 8 here at the UCL Training Center at the conclusion of Broncos camp. Today, fully padded practice. Really, Zach, the second full day of pads here. And look, a lot to break down. The move the ball period was beneficial for Russell Wilson and the Broncos offense. This is the Broncos Blitz. I'm Cody Roark, joined alongside by Zach Segars. We both cover the Broncos at milehighsports.com. Zach, going back to it, really kind of touching on the important stuff that Broncos country wants to know. Is the Broncos offense moving the ball? We saw that today during the team period, the move the ball period where they put the ball at the 20, and I believe there was a minute and 41 seconds on the clock. They were down 10-14 with only 2 timeouts. They were able to move down the field, and Russell Wilson making some nice plays, finding Trey Quinn for a touchdown in that period. But really the highlight, 4th and 4, Zach, after a couple of penalties early on by the Broncos offense, 4th and 4, Russell Wilson looks downfield, 20-plus yards to Courtland Sutton, who picks it up and gives the Broncos a momentum, and then Trey Quinn would punch it in. I mean, your thoughts initially on the team period, because that's what we needed to see from this Broncos offense here.
Yeah, absolutely. And people will point to, well, PS2 has gotten the best of Courtland Sutton. It's been a one-sided battle somewhat so far through the first few days of practice. But here, when it came down to it during the move the ball period with all the chips down, it was Courtland Sutton who came up with the big play. And what stood out to me was really the guts of that call by Russell Wilson. It's 4th and 4, and you're going for a jump ball to Courtland Sutton with Patrick Surtain in coverage. People were saying maybe PS2 is going to hurt Sutton's confidence. If anything, that shows how much confidence Russ has in Sutton, and hopefully that instills some.
Well, and you want to see that too from your offense, because think about it. In a 4th and 4 situation, you don't pick up that first down, game's over. So taking a chance there, gambling on it, I like that. We would not have seen that, I think, in the Vic Fangio-led regime. Definitely not in Pat Shurmur's offense. We would not have seen that as well. Some other news and notes to highlight a little bit towards the end of practice. P.J. Locke got tangled up on a pass attempt there, and he was able to walk it off on his own power. So that is a great sign. Maybe it was just a cleat to the calf, but we're going to continue to monitor that. Caden Stearns was not out at practice today, which was a little bit of a surprise. Nathaniel Hackett said they're hoping he'll be back for Saturday's practice, which will be full pads. He mentioned something about a hip or something. I'm not quite sure what it was.
Getting a shot in his hip of some sort.
Hopefully that's not something, because really it's a big time for Caden Stearns to really kind of prove why George Paton drafted him in the 5th round of the 2021 NFL draft. But P.J. Locke got a majority of the reps with the defense, with the first team, with Justin Simmons, which, hey, the more that P.J. practices, the more that Caden does it, it almost kind of makes it solidify that, hey, P.J. might be the favorite for that third safety spot on this defense.
Yeah, it's very possible, and it's a good position the Broncos to be in with 2 such great depth safeties that can come in and play a big role on this defense. It's valuable. We're seeing the attrition come into play in other areas of the roster. Hopefully that doesn't happen at safety, but the Broncos are well prepared if it does happen.
Well, let's talk about another guy on the offensive side of the ball. Okay, everyone's been wondering, how are the Broncos going to replace the impact or maybe the production of Tim Patrick? And look, it's simple. You can't really replace Tim Patrick's impact, but you can spread that production out amongst other guys. And in the red zone period, we got to see Greg Dulcich working with the first team offense, working his way back into the team period, which is a great step for him as he's been dealing with that hamstring. He caught a touchdown today from Russell Wilson, and it was more so a scramble drill, and he was able to haul it in. Early returns on Greg Dulcich, impressive so far, especially maybe a guy who's got the 6'4" size that Tim Patrick has, can maybe step up and be a little bit of what Tim Patrick was supposed to be in this offense this season.
100%. And to your point, there isn't an individual player on this roster that's fully replacing Tim Patrick. But you have a big-bodied receiver that can move as smooth and as fluidly as Dulcich can, and can also impact the game as a blocker. Now, listen, we talked about him not being a great blocker. That's when we were talking about him as an inline tight end. It's like a power slot, something that we could have seen them do with Tim Patrick. I think he's plenty adept there, and we'll see him thrive in that role. And just seeing him not only get open on that scramble drill, but find separation away from Justin Simmons, maybe the best safety in football. Really impressive early returns out from him today.
Not to mention, too, let's get to some defensive news and notes here on the Broncos Blitz. A couple of interceptions today. Brett Rippon threw a couple. One, Damari Mathis, the rookie cornerback out of Pitt, did a tremendous job undercutting a route, something that they work on every day in individual drills there. Undercuts it, intercepts it, takes the ball away. And then in the red zone period, Brett Rippon was looking for a pass intended to the wide receiver. J.R. Reed, the safety, comes up, deflects it, pops into the air. Jamar Johnson comes up with an interception. A guy like Jamar, a lot riding on, I think, for a roster spot, him in the preseason, how he plays here, considering the depth at safety. But let's talk about just somebody who absolutely just stands out day in and day out defensively. Not named Patrick Surtain, folks. That's Baron Browning, who is getting work. First team, second team. He's getting a lot of reps here for this Broncos team, and he is just creating pressure. He is creating havoc off the edge, and you can't run the football to his side. That is a very promising sign early on here for Baron, making the position switch from inside to the edge.
And you highlighted defending the run, as did Ejiro Evero a few months back. That's going to be huge for him, learning that edge position. And I'm happy to say I think I was wrong on Browning. I need to see it in the games once it starts actually mattering. But man, the practice results have been so consistent and so promising. It's hard not to feel very optimistic about what Baron Browning could be at edge for the Denver Broncos this season.
Well, folks, that is day 8 here at the UCL Training Center for Denver Broncos Training Camp. Cody Roark, Zach Segars having you covered here. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, which you should be anyways, there is a little bell notification right down here. Make sure you hit that bell, hit that thumbs up, comment as well, share your thoughts on what you were looking for maybe in day 9. Not as much of a high-intensity practice anticipated tomorrow, but what are you looking for? We are halfway through with training camp, and then bam, next week is the preseason. This is the Broncos Blitz.